Welcome to this video in which I'm going to play Inkle Studios' new game, Pendragon. So normally I don't think of myself as somebody who streams games, somebody who plays a game and lets you look over my shoulder. Rather, I prefer to analyze a game that I have played, that maybe you have played already, and then I talk about what works, what it is, its themes, and so on and so forth. But there are two reasons why, when it comes to Pendragon, I have chosen to actually play it while you watch me. And the first is that Pendragon is not an interactive fiction in the usual, traditional sense of the word. Right? It's not a story that we can both experience, maybe with some minor variations based on the choices that we make. Rather, Pendragon is a combination of two things, really. It's a tactical board game, and it is a story-generating engine. Right? It sort of procedurally generates stories depending on what we do in the game. And that means that any story that we're going to be talking about, that we're going to be experiencing, is going to be unique, it's going to be different from the stories that other people have experienced. And so it doesn't really work, right? Trying to say, oh look, in Pendragon this and this happens, and then this happens, because what I have done and what you have done, what I've experienced and what you have experienced, might be two totally different things. So it makes sense to play a story together and talk about that story as we experience it. So that's the first reason. And the second reason is that because Pendragon can generate so many stories, I can't really analyze it in any kind of definitive sense, given the kind of knowledge of the game that I have now. I have played through the entire game 4 times, from the first scene to the final scene where you confront the evil Mordred. So I've done that 4 times. And I've seen 4 very different stories, but I can't really say that I like grasp the whole space of possibilities, that I know what's going on, that I know how Pendragon really works. So in that sense, I'm not ready to sort of analyze it and give some kind of verdict about Camelot, or talk in detail about the intricacies of the way that it generates stories. So I want to say something about it nevertheless already at this point, and that's why we're going to do a video. I am going to choose one of these heroes to take on a story that will end up with, hopefully, the defeat of Mordred. So most of them are like famous figures from the Arthurian legends, like Queen Guinevere, Sir Lancelot, Queen Morgana. As you can see, I've already completed games with these. The game has several difficulty levels. You start on anecdotal, and as you win games, you will be able to, you're unlocking new difficulty levels that you can choose. So I've done Guinevere on anecdotal, Lancelot on dramatic, Morgana on heroic, Branwen of the Wood on melodramatic, and then there are here a couple of heroes that I haven't really played with yet. So I just unlocked Lady Rhiannon and Gawain the Red in my previous game. So let's take Lady Rhiannon, why not? A powerful and reckless swordsstress, once of Camelot. The Lady Rhiannon was wielding a sword before she could lace her own boots. As a teenager, she rode the hills around her castle, fighting off raiders and Saxons. She joined the Round Table after meeting Sir Gawain, knocking him off his horse, and then following him back to Camelot. There she arm-wrestled Sir Percival, outran Sir Tristram, and drank Lady Ragnell under the Round Table. She was loved, feared, and respected by all in equal measure. Well, that sounds good. I don't really know what to expect of this character. I mean, for instance, Morgana Le Fay is kind of sort of evil, treacherous. I know that Lancelot, he's in love with Guinevere, Guinevere is in love with Lancelot. Both of them have betrayed Arthur, to whom they also feel great loyalty. So I kind of know what to expect from them. I've no idea what to expect from Lady Rhiannon. But let's choose her. We are playing on heroic difficulty, by the way. That's kind of halfway on the difficulty scale. I have been trying to decide which fight to fight next. I've sort of turned down the speed of the text so that you might have an easier time reading along with me if you want to. I'm going to fight Mordred, that sounds good. So here we see the tactical board game, and one of the interesting things about Pendragon, but in a sense also one of the confusing things, one of the things that you have to get used to and develop a feel for, is that its tactical board game and its story generating engine work together. What you do on the board is going to influence the story, but the story engine is also going to throw up things for you on the board. So just to give you an example of that, in my last game, a lot of heroes had died. I started with Morgana and she died, and then I picked up Arthur's brother, whatever his name was, and he died, and I was doing really badly, and I was hoping to get more allies, and so when Mordred met Brenwyn the archer, I hoped she would join me, but she didn't, and then I got into a new fight, and Mordred was kind of, Morgana was kind of overwhelmed, and suddenly the Brenwyn the archer appeared on the field and said, well, I followed you and I'm going to join you anyway, and so she could help me in this fight. So that was kind of awesome, but I mean the game might also throw more nasty surprises at you, and more importantly, I would say, what you do, I mean the actions you take on the battlefield might change the story and change your characters. So sometimes it's good for you to sacrifice your pieces, at least temporarily, because then other pieces can rescue them, and this generates story, and this can give your pieces new power, new sort of narrative meaning that gives them powers that also once again work on the tactical board game. And I hope we're going to see some examples of that as we move through the game. So first thing I would like to do is I would like to check that I turned off the game music. Volume, contact. I don't know, I thought I could do that, but I guess it's okay. Because the last time I tried to make a video about Pendragon, the in-game sounds were so loud that you couldn't really hear me. I think it's going to work out fine. So here we are. I'm here, Lady Rhiannon, and I have to get, in every map, what you have to do is reach the far right edge of the game board. You don't have to defeat the enemies. That is strictly optional. You have to reach the far edge of the game map. So here I am. I'm going to move diagonally. If you move diagonally, you can't fight, but you can claim more territory. And claiming more territory, like turning it red, is going to give you a tactical advantage later. But you'll have to switch to linear rather than diagonal stance if you want to fight at some point. So I'm trash talking Mordred. Ooh, another and better wolf. I'm going to change my stance to linear, so now I can actually, attack. Charge through bushes. Well, why not? So this is my special power. I can charge through bushes, and that means that I'm not as locked up here as I may seem. I don't know whether it's really tactically advantageous to do it right here and now, but I can do it to sort of show it off to you. This takes some resolve Here you can see the resolve, and you can pick up new resolve on the battlefield. Ah, this is interesting. So the game is warning me. Another wolf moves close, but the second wolf is not far behind. The game is warning me that if I attack this wolf, then the second wolf is going to kill me. This may end your journey. So that doesn't seem smart. I don't want to be killed. Instead, let me move back, like retreat a little bit. See what happens. Ooh. So what happened now is that the wolf switched to diagonal stance, and this allows you to claim the squares around you. So this also means that right now Lady Rhiannon cannot attack him. If this were a red square, I could have charged through it and killed him. But I can't because it's blue. I can take one step forward and that would be safe. But I assume that he would like turn back to Lydia, and it wouldn't be of much use to me. There must be a way forward, absolutely. I'm going to sort of stand here, I think, and hopefully one of these wolves will make... One of these wolves is going to make a false move. I mean, if they keep standing where they are now... I need to get past them at some point. I can do that trick too, but this was probably really stupid. The reason to call it really stupid is that if this move had moved forward, I would probably have been dead, right? Oh, come on. It's going to kill me. So I can't do that. I have to move back again. This is kind of bad, because these wolves are... I mean, they're sort of defending each other. I don't really see a way to get past them. And as the... Oh, there's a square here too. Ah. Right, okay. Oh. That will get me killed, and this will get me killed. Everything gets me killed. How am I going to do this? Again, I can't move. Everything I do is going to kill me. So at this point it's really a disadvantage that there's only one, that I have only one character. If I had two characters or more and you're going to pick up allies during your game, you definitely have a lot more room to maneuver, a lot more things that you can do. I probably need to go here and then try to jump through the bush or something like that before my morale falls. Come on. Ugly bastard. Now it has made a fatal... Wait. Why can't I kill it? Why can't I? I would have thought I'd been able to charge it from where I am now. I'm a little bit confused. Maybe you can't charge higher ground. So, okay, this has never happened to me before, but what's happening is this. Given that I had only one character and that these wolves were sort of playing really like carefully, like putting themselves in such a place that I just couldn't get past them to the ending, I ended up already in this very first fight depleting my entire morale bar that you can see here. But when that happens, and I think the game did this on purpose, here in the first battle, sometimes you go into a death rage. I can now make several moves, attacks will extend the streak, kill all the enemies or your journey ends here. Okay, I need to kill all the enemies. Well, I can do that, I hope. Ha ha ha. Good. So I'm doing moves that I could never do normally because they would kill me. I mean, the wolf could kill me, but I am now doing several attacks. I could get several moves in a row. Ha! And you really do have to win, right? If you don't kill all the enemies, you're going to die at the end of this. But really what the first scene of our tale has come to is that, you know, Lady Rihanna was already overwhelmed in her first fight, but then bang, went to the edge but survived. And so I get to choose an ability. The ability charge across, which is charge to the far side of the board, or run through, move one step further after a capture. Both of which sound really good. So run through, both of them are also really expensive. They use up 3 resolve, which is a lot. These are the most expensive abilities I've ever seen. So run through means that you can kill somebody and then take another step. And that is really great in the kind of situation we just saw, right? Where there were 2 wolves next to each other and they were sort of defending each other. If I kill one, then the other kills me. But with run through, I can kill one and then get to the square beyond it. So that could be really useful. Charge across, charge to the far side of the board, might also be very useful if I attempt to get past some enemies, if I attempt to get to the end of the board, like quickly. But I'm going to choose run through. It sounds like a tactically advantageous maneuver to have. Ooh, has survived the death rage, but at the cost of a point of maximum health. I'll say a little bit about that in a moment. We have found a horse. That is how the first map, I think, always ends. And now we get to the overland map. And we are shown some new locations that we could move to. And also, luckily, we get some new morale. So, here I am. And the question is, where do I want to go next? I can't go everywhere. Like, I can click on some of these things, but there's no arrow. But here I can go to a wet bogland, or I can go to a strongly built houses, right? This is a village. What does my character... So, at this point it's kind of, well, do you want to go to a bog? Do you want to go to a village? And it's kind of random. But as the game progresses, there might be locations where you have specific story reasons to go there. Maybe because you know that a specific hero might be there, or maybe you know that you can get more information about something you've been uncovering, or maybe you know that a specific item might be found there. Those are all possibilities. So to get back to the maximum health thing just a little bit before, your characters have a number of hearts, right? And Lady Rhiannon used to have 4 hearts, now I have 3 hearts. And in a sense that's her health, but not health in the usual sense that you might be used to from role-playing games, where if I have 3 health, this probably means that I can be hit twice during a combat and remain standing, and then only the 3rd hit will knock me over. In Pendragon, any hit will knock you over, but if your allies win the battle, you will revive, as long as you have at least 1 heart left. So basically this means that Lady Rhiannon can revive twice more before really dying during combat. Okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to go to the village, because it sounds safer, and maybe I can find some allies there. I really want at least 1 ally to bring along on this dangerous journey. Ooh. Fear creeps in. The winding road is marked with carved totems. Most show the black cross on the white square of Sir Mordred. So, when you're on high ground, you can move in all directions, and depending on the direction you move in, you're going to end up in either diagonal or linear stance. So again, diagonal stance is in a sense better for moving, better for claiming territory. Linear stance is what you need to fight. Now, sometimes you actually... In fact, there are a lot of situations where it's not immediately clear whether you actually have to fight the other people on the board, or where it's clear that you don't have to fight them. And I think in those situations it is actually good sometimes to be in diagonal stance, right? Not draw your sword or weapon, because people will be friendlier to you and you might receive more help. So I'm going to move here. This guy might not be evil, might not actually be an enemy. Even though he says that they're proud enough to defend themselves. He might end up being quite friendly. We'll have to see about that. Here, join us. I would rather die than side with you. Well, that doesn't sound good. Really. I couldn't move here diagonally, right? Because if he then moved here linearly, there would be no place for me to move without dying. So, he appears to be pretty loyal to Mordred. Okay. Sounds like I have to kill him. Well, okay. In that case, I guess I will. I had hoped to recruit him, but he seemed to be pretty loyal to Mordred, who is our mortal enemy, so I think this is the best we could do. Should we rest here? So, one of the things I still do not know about the game is what... I mean, you get this question relatively often. Should we rest here? Should we keep going? And I'm not really sure what difference it makes. So, I'm just going to press rest. I know that if you rest and you have more than one person, then you get a campfire tale. But there's only one person here, so we're not going to get a campfire tale. And I'm not sure what resting actually does for me, but it sounds like it can't be really bad. Alright, so where can we go? We can't go there anymore. We can go to the fort of 5 trees. A stooped figure is visible by the water's edge. You can also go to this crossing. This is probably too far away. So when you look at the adventure map, you can sort of guess where you can go, and you can click on things to really find out. And I think you could also see the names of the things where you can go and where you are, which is what is happening now, right? I can go to these two things and I can't go to the others. But it's not always clear. I mean, it's not necessarily clear that if I go here, then I can go there. I mean, who knows? I don't know about that. The game doesn't show you all the paths you're going to be able to take in the future. Maybe because it doesn't decide which paths you can take until you are there, right? Because it wants you to get to Camlan at a specific time. Anyway, I'm going to go to the Fort of the Five Trees. I hope that this stooped figure that's visible by the water's edge will be found there, and maybe that's an ally, right? I still really want to find at least one person to join me. So I have no provisions. I didn't find any food, which would be shown here, and that means that I can't increase my number of hearts and my morale, and instead I'll just have to move on. Beside the Fort of Five Trees. Ah, there is some old man. Hello, old man. The old man doesn't sound like he's very compos mentis. Are you a magician? Do you have a name? Let's ask him about his name. Sir Brandon. What happened to you, Sir Brandon? So, at this point, I mean, I don't think I need to fight this guy. I think maybe he's going to join me, maybe he's not, but he doesn't seem to be very very hostile, and you can actually, in this case, see that when you click on Sir Brandon, because he's peaceful, he won't attack people, he has no ordinary attack. So all I need to do is go to the right here, but I want to play for time, because as I move, I'm going to converse with him, I'm going to talk to him. And, you know, maybe he's going to join me or tell me something interesting. He seems to be pretty gloomy. Arthur intends to die at Camlan. He won't die there. I won't let him. If Arthur wished to live, why would he leave Excalibur behind? Surely Arthur would not go into battle without Excalibur. It's the sword of the realm. The king does not want the kingdom to fall into Mordred's hands. Well, you know, how does he know that? Arthur gave me the sword. I never saw you at Camelot, stranger. I carried the blade to the brothers at the monastery of the lake. Near that place is a marsh, and there they bid me to cast the sword aside. I did as I was asked. The blade span through the misty air, and then was caught and held aloft by the lady herself. Where was this marsh? I do not know. But less than a day's ride from the abbey. And so, in this particular instance, I don't need to go to the far edge of the board, because we were here to have a conversation, and we had the conversation, and that's the end. And so, the game knows enough, right? It's going to stop there. There is the monastery of the lake, right? Am I going to go there? Oh yes, of course we are going to go there. But we can't seem to be able to go there like immediately. The only place where we can go like immediately is Payan Crossing, even though that doesn't seem to make much geographical sense, but that's okay. Maybe we can move to the monastery from the crossing. These crossings, if I understand this correctly, then these crossings are places where nothing actually happens, but you can just go to a lot of places. Yeah. So what do we have? Karagmid vibes. I want to go to the monastery of the lake. Probably that means that I first have to go to this glade, right? And then to the monastery. So that's what I'm going to try. Because I want to go here because Excalibur might be there, right? And I want to find out whether Excalibur is there, whether I can get it, what that's going to do with me. I got this little bit of story of the man telling me about Excalibur already in a previous game. But then I didn't follow through on the leads because I was following some other leads to find a specific hero that I wanted to meet. But now I have nothing better to do than find Excalibur. Eunuch's Glade, a tattered flag whips from a pole in the ground. That also suggests that there might be somebody there, maybe some ally, possibly some enemy. I still feel quite alone, having only this main character, or what is now the main character, because she can die, and if you have allies, they just take over sort of the central story role. That is one of the, I think, really interesting things about the way that Pendragon has been set up. Seems quiet here. This stinks. Someone is moving between the trees. I know a visitor. So I can't click on this person yet because they're in the dark. I am Sir Gwyn, protector of St. Hust's library. Well, if you're protecting a library, you must be a nice person, right? Gladly. Look, I have an ally. You are Lady Rhiannon of the Hill. You were at Camelot when it was still a place of peace. And will you be loyal to the bitterest of ends? So, Lady Rhiannon is now going to get an ability. Vault over an obstacle or fall back. Neither of which is very good, and I'm afraid this is going to replace the really interesting ability that we had before, because as far as I know, you can only have one ability. If you get a new one, it's going to remove the old one. I'm going to choose fourth obstacle. But I have a new follower, and we found 2 rations that we can use later. Should we camp here? Maybe we should. Because I hope to be able to sort of get more morale. And what better to end this first video of this story of Pendragon than by reading out a campfire tale. So these campfire tales have been, I mean, you may have heard of them because Inkle actually ran a kind of competition where people could send in their own campfire tales, and they selected a bunch of them to include in the game. So we're going to, you know, see the title and the author of the story once we have chosen one. So I would hear your tale. What would you prefer? A story of a game and a wager? Or a tale of a name? I've no idea. Let's choose the tale of a name. And we're going to hear About Names by Rodrigo M. Agosta. Once I was crossing the mountain through a forgotten pass. At sunset, I reached a cromlech, a stone arch 10 feet high and 5 feet wide. Such places are usually haunted by fairies. This was no exception. Around it lay a dozen shattered skeletons. I was looking for another path when the last light of day fell on one skeleton in rusty armor. Standing on 2 fleshless legs. It seemed oblivious to me. I took a faltering step towards the cromlech. Then the walls of the path shook and a stone figure with a stone axe emerged. The skeleton exclaimed, "Let me pass." But the stone figure replied, "Where no one can pass, who are you to want to pass?" Well, did the skeleton answer? The skeleton replied in its voice of dusty bone, "I am Lord Erwin, son of Utwin, and I swear that I shall pass." And the stone guardian cut his head off. Like that. Just like that. But immediately the skeleton lifted its head from the ground, put it back in place, and claimed its right of way again. And again he lost his head, and again, and again, and again. The fight never even began. The skeleton never got so far as raising its rusty sword. How tenacious. I approached the skeleton. I waited for it to reassemble. And before he tried to pass again, I said to him, "Why don't you tell him that you are no one? Maybe then he'll let you through." That's clever. But the skeleton in rusty armor replied to me thus, "I will not say I am no one, because I am Lord Erwin, son of Utwin, and I swear that I will pass." And so the stone guardian cut his head off again. That's beautiful. That's the original home of my new companion. So now I can go to the monastery of the lake, but now also it's midnight back here where I'm playing this game, and I'm going to stop for now, and I will pick it up again soon, and we will continue our quest towards Camlan, somewhere here in the north, where we will have to fight Mordred.